I'm a firm believer that transparency is the conduit of trust. For trust, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough to be honest when you are trying to build trust. Girl, it ain't over till death do us part. Said it ain't over.
Hey, everybody.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Welcome to the Pankey Promise
Oh
podcast.
man.
Listen,
Mm.
we have started and stopped this journey so many times, but I promise you, we are about to be consistent, okay? This is the first episode from us rebranding ourselves from the Outlet podcast to the Pankey Promise.
Can we just give a hand clap for that? Because I feel like that's hand clap worthy. I mean, because it's been a journey, y'all, and we are so excited about being here at this specific place. And all things work together for the good. So yeah, go ahead, sweetheart.
Yeah, so we just wanted to welcome you all, and we hope that you all follow us along for this journey. Now, our focus is specifically for married couples, engaged couples, or anyone seeking marriage.
Yeah.
When thinking about our generation and the generations behind us, we see where a lot of people are no longer interested in marriage. And I feel like a part of that comes from people being so self-serving.
Yeah.
It's like, if it doesn't benefit me, if I don't see how like I can come up from it, then I don't want it.
Yeah.
And marriage is completely the opposite. It's about being selfless and a lot more things that we'll get into the more that you listen to us, but essentially that's why we decided to shift our focus there.
Yeah.
We want to allow the generations that's coming up behind us to know that there is a benefit to marriage and it is still worth it.
Yeah.
Because this is our first episode, we do want to give an overview of like the structure of how we're going to facilitate our podcast. So we got 5 different segments. I know it's a lot, but we have 5 different segments that we're going to go through. The first one is Fateful Moments. So that's where we give you all like a story time of a specific theme. Then we got our second segment called Marriage Myths. And this is where we debunk some idea or thought that is assumed when it comes to marriage.
Right.
The next thing is Quick Promises. So we are calling you guys, our listeners, our promise keepers. And because of that, we want to have promises that you all are trying to uphold. And so in this section, we'll give you practical tips.
Yeah.
The fourth section is Relationship Real Talk. So this is when we'll dive into any type of issues that we might have faced, and we'll be, completely honest and transparent about what we experienced and kind of how we made it through it. And then the final section is where we will close the episode with the weekly promise. It'll be an actionable commitment that you all can take with you.
Yeah, that's good.
So I know that was a lot, right? But I just wanted you all to have an idea of how we'll kind of function our show, so that when we say like, hey, we're going into our marriage myths, you'll know
what to expect.
Yes.
Right.
I've been doing a lot of talking.
you have.
And
I'm just kidding.
No, that's too much.
I was just kidding. But
no, you're not. But I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. So I'm going to let you tell the people how, just give them a little bit of background about us, and just in case they never heard us before or don't know who we are.
Got you. Well, if you guys are new here to the Pankey Promise, of course, if you were listeners of the Outlet podcast, and you guys would know that we've been married for 11 years, and 12 years will be in January. Can we just celebrate that? Because, I mean, for a young couple who got married, I was 22.
I was 21.
And you were 21. So we were young, dumb, and
okay.
All the other things. Yep. And but man, it's been a journey. We dated in high school, prom king and queen, high school sweethearts.
It was because of him. He was popular. I wasn't.
She always says that. She was the pretty girl. So, I mean, everybody wanted to be around a pretty girl. But either way, any rate, we have experienced so much in relationship and as it relates to our marriage. And we want to be able to discuss what we done to overcome some of the challenges that come with being married, because the challenge is the two becomes one. In order for someone to become one, there must be a level of fire. There must be a level of merging, and sometimes while merging, it's uncomfortable. It's tedious work. It's small foxes that can potentially destroy the vine. And for us, we decided that no, we gonna divorce the D word, which is divorce, and we're gonna get rid of that in our language and start talking about, instead of using divorce, we'll talk about developing, and we'll switch our D's out. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's good for a lot of people that are in relationship who are actually seeking marriage or who are in marriage and trying to figure out their ways of overcoming their challenges in marriage, switching from divorce to development, because that's what we want to do. We want to develop together.
Yeah, I think that's good. Making that exchange.
Yeah.
I think that was cute.
Yeah.
Switch to these.
Yeah, switch to these. And he
don't
okay. Okay.
Okay. Anyways, the focus of today's episode is building trust in marriage. And whenever I was telling my husband that, giving him the idea of building trust in marriage, your response was what? It's kind of deep for a first episode.
Yeah,
right?
I felt like it was a little bit deep.
But we decided to go through with it because without trust, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And so being able to start with something foundational, we felt like was good. So let's get into the faithful moment. Our focus for this segment is trusting God when trust is broken.
Fellas, I know I can speak for some of you guys. Have you ever, through communication, through telling something that was somewhat sacred to you and to your emotions, maybe to your trauma experiences, you express that in conversation with your spouse, and somehow it came up in an argument with your spouse? Those are moments where trust is broken. Now you're in a place where you don't ever want to tell her anything that's so vulnerable, because you don't want to feel as if what you're saying can be used against you in a court of relationship. And so, like, I think that's a good place.
What do you mean? So let's make it completely like practical, because what you're saying is good. But let's give the people an example of an instance with that.
Let me think. Are you asking like something that personally happened between us, or
sure, if you feel comfortable sharing?
It's not that. I'm just trying to remember a time.
Well, that's good.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that has been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Okay. Well, it don't have to be personally with us, but like, let's just give an example. Like, say I came for your manhood or something.
Okay.
Is that like what you're saying, or you're saying that you were vulnerable about something traumatic? And
yeah, so maybe I'm being vulnerable about being the way my grandmother would try to embarrass me in public.
Okay.
Right? This is literally something that potentially did happen actually in our marriage.
Good story.
So something that we kind of went over.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother would have these moments where she would say things while I was a kid that would really make me feel embarrassed. And she would do it all while there are people around. And so as I got older, it became like a really big pet peeve for me, because I didn't want to be embarrassed. Nobody wants to be embarrassed, but mine came from a trauma place.
Yeah.
I could think of moments when she would say, "Oh, you don't wash your behind good enough," and we're in front of like my other cousins, and in front of my aunts, and from a girl I liked during the time. And like I said, I'm young at this time, but still aware enough to know, like, no, you intentionally did this thing to embarrass me. And so, like, whenever me and you would have a disagreement, and if that disagreement is in public, even till this day, I don't like public disagreements. I don't like public arguments. And if you say something that relates to what she would say to me, as in, I'm not your grandmother, or I won't do anything, or don't don't superimpose what she did on me, without me even having to say that to you, then I would feel like, well, you just use what I told you as a vulnerable piece, and you kind of like use it in a way to minimize how I feel about a moment.
Okay. And you saying that would cause a breach in trust.
And that would cause a major breach in trust, because I told you this from a place of vulnerability and transparency so that you can get an understanding of me. And if your understanding of me causes you to, it's as if you're judging me because of my transparent moment. Although I know you're not necessarily doing that, but the fact that you would use that in an argument or use that as a rebuttal would come off as if, well, then you only just heard me because, I don't know, heard me to use it in a moment like this. But in reality, I was trying to express to you why I don't like to, be disagreeable in public, or why I don't necessarily like, having us arguing in other people's presence other than our private home. Now, we can argue all day at home if, because we will, a human. Just an example of what we do as men, like we would tell you things that can potentially be brought up later. And I just gave one of my examples, but fellas, I know that you guys have your own experiences. And I'm not saying that all women do this. I'm not saying that because I don't want to come off that way. But I do want to say that it is a reality that this is why most men don't talk, why most men don't communicate, because what we say can be used against us.
And right, but I think, okay, so I'm going to I don't mean to cut you off, right? Are you finished?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
I mean,
I just don't want to be rude,
no,
but I just don't want to get my thought either. It's like, I understand what you're saying now. And honestly, I don't know if you ever communicated it to me in that way prior to today about, like, I understood it a little bit differently today than I ever have before. Because, I'm like, I'm just trying to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not trying to cause a scene about nothing. Like, it's just on my mind, and I feel like we got a moment, so let's just discuss it. But I think I didn't realize that it was that traumatic for you, one. And so I'll be more mindful now. But my caveat to that is that if I'm your partner and it's someone that you're in relationship with, and like, my heart towards you, a shadow of what was traumatic for you then shouldn't be assumed as an attack now. Right? Like, is that fair to say?
I think that is fair to say, but this goes back to trust. Let's go back to our topic as to if we haven't communicated enough about, like you saying, this is your first time of me articulating this to you this way, then because maybe I didn't communicate it like this, it still comes off as a dig if you say something that kind of reminds me of me coming to you in a vulnerable moment or in a transparent moment of telling you something that is a very, like, a real pet peeve, but it comes from a trauma place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I should be able to trust you, but my trauma is greater than my trust.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that happens a lot in relationships. Like, our trauma is greater than our trust in the person that we're with. And this is a good segue to talk about why it's necessary to have trust in a marriage. Because yes, I should be able to lean on the fact that me and you have enough investment in each other to know that you're coming from a good place. But even sometimes in our best intentions, we don't always get good results. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because your intention could have been really good.
Yeah, but I think, but also, like, now that I heard you differently, because my trauma made me believe that you were just trying to shut me up in those moments. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
Yeah, because it's like, what do you mean I can't say what I want to say? Like, why are you trying to not allow me to say what I want to say? My whole childhood, I felt muzzled. You will not muzzle me. You know what I'm saying? So because your trauma was what it was, I was like, well, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But I think now I have to be like, marriage is selfless. So I have to push my trauma to the side, and I'm more willing to do that now and wait until we get in the car to have the conversation, because I am more aware of why you felt what you felt.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wait, then maybe that'll give you the ability to build more trust in that if I do say something in a moment, that I'm not trying to be that, because I've shown you that I will acquiesce to that traumatic place and wait.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right. But I also have to be understanding of why you want to maybe resolve an issue then and in that place.
Yeah.
I do think that there is a time and place for everything, right? But at the same time, if you're willing to compromise, I also got to be willing to compromise as well. And in that way, we continue to build trust.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's move right into the next segue of marriage myths. So the myth we want to talk about today is that trust comes naturally in a good marriage. What's problematic about that statement?
What is a good marriage?
Right.
What is a good marriage? You got two imperfect people who made perfect vows with imperfect lips.
Shout out to Bishop Brown for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's our pastor. And he says it all the time. So it's like ingrained in us now, but it's so true.
Yeah. What is a good marriage? A good marriage, we think that good marriages are those that just kind of flows without any hiccups. It's like, oh, this is just, it has to be a harmony. And to be honest with you, that's not true, because all marriages have friction.
Right.
And what happens when you rub up against each other, or you contend with one another's thought process and trauma, like how we were just talking about, that stuff happens. And do we not have a good marriage because we had a bad experience?
No.
You know what I'm saying? So let's take good marriage. I think we need to take that idea of good marriage out of it anyways.
So, okay, let's take good marriage out of it. Trust comes naturally in marriage.
Does it come naturally?
I think it depends. I'm a therapist, y'all. So I have a little bit of credibility in some of the things that I'm saying. Also, I don't know if we said this in the beginning, but we are Christians. And so our foundation is going to be coming from a Christian view. Right. Everybody has their own experiences, and like how we were just talking about our own traumas that we have.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes when someone does something that will highlight a trauma that you have, your response is based upon that trauma. And so I feel like because of that fact, that you won't innately trust somebody. I mean, if somebody is like doing everything for you, right? Like buying you gifts, if they're like being there for you emotionally, financially, like, you're more willing to, I guess, trust them in a way. Is that like, if they're doing everything that you want them to do, you are more willing to trust them. So as soon as they remind you of something like a bad experience, then all of a sudden, like, what is it?
Right.
Do you just not trust them?
Right.
So I think in a marriage, trust is built, because even like what we were just saying, after 16 years together and 11 years married, we still had a moment that we worked through on this podcast today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you got to be willing to intentionally build and maintain trust.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good.
All right, well, let's get right into quick promises. Okay, so we're going to give y'all 2 simple ways to rebuild trust. And these are just some practical tips from us that we learned. Basically, the tips are transparent communication and prioritizing accountability.
Okay.
The way we have transparent communication is we share locations.
Yeah.
Now, in today's society, friend groups share locations, but relationship sharing locations, that's somehow different.
Yeah. Like somehow some people, not a lot, not all, but some people trust their friends more than they trust their spouse. You can trust your friend with your location, but you don't necessarily trust your spouse with your location. Now, if you're married, then I have an issue with that. But if you're just in like a relationship, maybe even considering marriage one day, I can kind of see that. But as far as your marriage is concerned, you married, it should be no issue with sharing your location.
I don't know, somehow the in my business is different. Like friends can be in your business, but your man can't be in your business. I don't know. But don't shoot the messenger. That's how it is though. Like I know people that's like that.
I know people who are married that's like that. They won't share the location with their spouse.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know nobody like that.
I do.
All right. But anyways, we share locations, and we didn't always share locations, but there was, y'all know, men can't take no for an answer. So there was this man who came.
Some men.
Okay.
Can't take no for an
Some
answer.
men can't take no for an answer. There are some men who will approach women, and the woman will say, "Oh well, I'm married. You can't have friends." No, like no means no.
Yeah.
But this guy, he was leaning all over my car, and I felt a little intimidated. So I'm like, I don't want him to do anything. I don't know what he has, if he got a gun or what. But he leaning over the car, so looking back, I probably should have just drove off. But in that instance, I felt very unsafe. And so I told Chris, I was like, no, I think we need to share locations from this point on.
Mm-hmm.
And he agreed.
Yeah, I think it was a good idea because your safety matters. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that specifically for other reasons, right? Because you don't want nobody to know your business. You want nobody to know where you at. Mm-hmm. But when you're committed to something, like sharing your location is nothing.
No, that's me.
You know what I'm saying? We share our locations with our kid. I mean, you want to know where your kids are. Kid even know where you at too.
My God, let's not get into that. My son, Ma, I see you riding past McDonald's. You on the way home, boy? Stop looking at my location. But it was definitely, for a safety reason. But I guess,
well, kids don't necessarily need to know where you at.
No,
I think that bad. But I do think it's okay though if they ask to know. That's fine. I just think the way we was raised, you don't need to know my business.
Oh yeah,
like mind your business.
Yeah,
stay in the child's place.
For sure.
Type of thing. And I'm still with that. I kind of still with that a little bit. So I can see why you don't necessarily share with your child.
No.
But if you're married, I would strongly suggest, especially if you are a woman who has a husband, share your location, specifically for your safety. That was our main goal, was to make sure that my wife was secure. And because I know, working in law enforcement for a while, that men can be very unhinged. You tell them no, they might strike you. There's no telling what they'll do. So I would rather you have to, you don't have to necessarily send me your location or, try to explain to me where you at. Not when you're in a crisis. You don't have time to communicate when you're in a crisis. So if something's going on, I'd rather just know, hey, get there and how to get there. So
yeah, so that was the reason why we started sharing locations. It was just a level of transparency that worked for us.
Yeah.
Also, we share passcodes.
Yeah.
Like we got the same passcode. So if he need to get into something, it ain't no issue. And if he change it, why you being weird?
Yeah. But some people are like really big on privacy, even as it relates to your location. Like people are big on privacy. And that's fair. I think that's fair. Don't you?
Yeah.
I think it's fair for like someone who's dating in a dating phase, right? Like, that's my private information. I don't really need to give you my passcode. Howbeit ever, if you get married, when you get married, because right, we're seeking marriage, right? We're engaged. Passwords and private information should be private to other people outside of your relationship, right? It's private to them, but for me and you, it's public because we got enough history here, enough investment in each other to be able to know what's going on intimately. If you're gonna have intimate relations with the person, I mean, sharing that, and I mean that may go to the fact of people now see that as transactional, then you know something of value. But as for us believers, we know that it's more than just transactional.
Mm-hmm.
This is our way of saying we're committing ourselves intimately as well. And if we're gonna do that, then we might as well be, you know, able to share each other's information as far as passcodes.
Right. I think it's more about providing your partner a level of security.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't want to be thinking about nothing. I don't want to be worried about nothing. And like, so that you ain't worried about nothing, I'm an open book.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get into real talk, relationship real talk.
Okay.
We're going to talk about how past hurts affect present trust, or they can. It made me think about how past betrayals and childhood experience can impact trust in marriage. So I know that's a mouthful, but when I
Can you think of something?
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
when I think about my childhood and like the way, so I don't know if I want to be this open, but I lost my biological father at 4, and I lost my bonus father at 28.
Okay.
And so my relationship with a father figure was not what you would imagine, like, or what I imagined on TV, like father daughter, being so close with a father figure. Like, that wasn't what I had. And because me and my bonus father didn't get close until my 20s, and I lost him at the end. So I think the type of intimacy that and closeness, I guess, that you would have with a dad or a man in general, I never had that. Or I didn't realize how much that affected our marriage until later on, like not too long ago, a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. Would you say that you recognize how it kind of impacted our marriage?
Yeah. In a lot of ways. Number one is knowing the flow and the nature of a man.
Mm-hmm.
How does men operate if you don't? How you know what I'm saying? In my mind,
Yeah.
how can you know how a man operates if you're not necessarily in proximity of that consistently while growing up? And maybe you were with your stepdad, but to a degree, you were kind of like standoffish too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Guarded,
maybe that's the word. Mm-hmm. So without being able to experience that and the gravity of that, mm-hmm. I think that kind of affected us because, yeah, you love me, and I think that was just a byproduct of my investment and showing you that I loved you. But the reality is, when we move or fast forward to living with each other, to being more committed to the relationship, there were certain things about me that potentially probably gave you an ick. But the reality is that this is just like how a lot of men operate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And being not necessarily privy to that caused like a level of expectations and disappointments, mm-hmm. even in yourself or even in our marriage. You know what I'm saying? There are certain maybe things that you probably expected me to do because maybe you saw them done by your stepdad. Being more attention to detail about certain things. And listen, I miss him. You know what I'm saying? So having this conversation can make me sad a little bit.
Yeah, especially because today is his birthday.
Yeah. So some of y'all don't know, like we because we dated so young, we almost like grew up together in a way. And her stepdaddy became like a father figure for me because of my own personal issues with my own dad. And but at any rate, I'm just saying that was, I can definitely tell how, especially now, mm-hmm. with us having spending time with each other and get to know each other more intimately, that you've completely changed from how you were. But just from that instance, I could tell the way you interact with me. And
yeah, I think it was more of like an emotional, like distance and control. Because, like, especially, like, the whole pet name issue.
Oh, God. Y'all, we've been we've been dating for forever, right? And my wife still cannot give me a pet name, right? Like, she cannot say it without feeling so vulnerable. And I mean, I guess I understand that, right? Like, cause I know that it comes from a place of being guarded, and that's a place in you that, although you've grown in other areas, you develop in a lot more areas. That specific area is like,
I think I didn't see. I'm trying to think. Like, Ghana and Papa, they don't call each other no pet names. My grandma is Pat to my granddaddy.
mm-hmm, that's true.
And then with mine, dad, like,
No, I've heard her call him.
he might have done it too, but she would say Darren.
Yeah, she would, but I would hear her say give him pet names too. I remember those times.
I guess it was few and far in between.
Oh God,
Oh no,
I think your memory may be fogged a little bit
maybe
with
so.
trauma right now.
I'm gonna
I'm
try to
telling
give you what you want. It's
it's
just
okay. So it's not as serious. I'm not. This is the end all be all.
on a scale of 1 to 10. How therapists do? How much do you want it?
What do I want it?
I mean, how much do you want to be called a pet name?
I'll give it a 5. Right at 5, like midway.
You sure?
Maybe I can't. Let's just say if I couldn't use 5, I would say 6.
Okay.
It's
So it's
not.
kind of it, but it's more want than not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Just a tad bit, because now it's been
It
so
would make
long.
you feel more loved.
Not necessarily.
Chris would pick at me. That's why I wouldn't say
Here she goes.
baby, bae, or something like that.
Y'all don't believe this nonsense, okay? I wasn't picking at her.
I said what I said.
What happened was she would say it in a way that was kind of comical, okay? She'd be like, babe. And then, give me like this look, like,
I did it.
Yeah, like, I did it.
Yeah, I know.
And it should come up, and I feel like it should just flow. And if it's not gonna flow, then
well, no, you gotta because I feel like one with that you gotta endure the uncomfortable period because I know.
Wait. I have to endure the uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable.
Endure, right? But it's uncomfortable for me. But I'm doing it for you, so you have to endure like the awkwardness because I am trying.
That's fair,
right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like for me, it's less about the pet name and more about like feeling like if I say a pet name and then you hurt my feelings and I gave you that much of me, that's all I have left. What if I don't bounce back from that? And I know it's unrealistic to expect to not get hurt emotionally because you may do something unintentionally to hurt my feelings. I know all these things, but it's still hard. So, but I'm gonna try.
But can you imagine, like, if I came with like the same?
I know it's
thought process.
I love you
I'm
for
not going to extend myself.
I didn't
based of no. Listen to what I'm saying though. I'm not saying that you are saying that. I'm saying that. Imagine though, if I would, even if I didn't articulate this in that way,
right.
if my actions were to, I'm not going to extend myself past a certain point because I don't want to feel like you're going to hurt me again.
I know, but as difficult as this is, I'm willing to try to get uncomfortable and out my skin. But people won't do the uncomfortable thing.
That's true.
Based upon their traumatic experience, because I won't allow you to get close enough to even think that it's possible for you to ever hurt me again.
Right, but see,
I'm not saying that it's right.
The framework where we are now is we've shifted from divorce to development. So in all categories. So in everything, there's gonna be moments in development of being uncomfortable. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
And because it is part of developing a new language or a new culture of language within this house, I think it would be a place of development for us. And
for me.
No, not just for you, because like you said, I have to get used to that.
Okay.
I'm still used to Chris.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Feelingless.
Yeah.
Chris.
No.
I'm just saying, if you said it's slow or sexy, maybe. But I ain't even getting it like that. Well, I mean, other than you get what I'm saying. So just on a normal stance, normal conversation, it would be nice to be called a pet name. It would be nice.
You got a preference?
I don't have a preference, no.
You see what I'm saying?
Because I don't want to.
Give me
That's
some.
not, no. Like mine just came natural, babe.
Because that was common.
Maybe it was, but it was natural. As common as it was still natural.
All right, cool. All right, I got you.
Okay, so let's move on.
All right, y'all. So that was real talk about. There was real talk about how my childhood experience impacted our trust in marriage. Yeah. And you have to be mindful of whatever your traumatic event was, whatever betrayal happened to you, or whatever thing could impact the way that trust works in your relationship.
Yeah.
So finally, we are going to end with our weekly promise. This is an actionable commitment that we want you promise keepers to prioritize.
Oh, yeah.
This is the promise to be honest and transparent.
Let's talk about that.
So we want you to prioritize honesty and open communication this week with your partner.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
I just want to talk about the distinction.
Okay.
All right. So the distinction between honesty and transparency. I'm a firm believer that transparency is the conduit of trust. For trust, I should say. It's not enough to be honest when you are trying to build trust. It's a difference between saying, when I come in the house at a certain specific time, let's say I came in the house at 11 p.m. And you said, where you been? Right? My honesty is, I went to a friend's house after work and I ended up drinking a little bit and played the game with him a little bit. And you know what I'm saying? We were just chilling. And once I realized what time it was, I heard him rush back home. Right? You called him and checked and see what that true. He verifies the story. You also had my location, so you knew I was at my friend's house. He was just trying to make sure I was accurate in what I told you. However, transparency is not even giving you the opportunity to ask the question. It is being forthcoming beforehand. So when I'm being transparent, it looks like, sweetheart, I just got off of work. My friend just called me. He just found out some bad news about one of his parents. They're getting sick, got cancer or whatnot, and he needs me to go there. And I kind of feel like he wants me to, show up for him. And I just want to use an opportunity to show up for him. I may stay over there for a little bit, but I'll stay in communication with you while I'm there. That sounds a lot better.
Can't get mad at that.
Right.
Nope. But if you don't come in, if you ain't home by 1, then
right,
we got a problem.
Right.
So, because it's important to keep your word with that transparency. And if like you go to the friend house and he wanted to go for a walk at some other place, you be transparent.
Yeah.
And not just honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So we are going to wrap up this week. And just remember, Promise Keepers, to be honest and transparent. And this week with your partner, be sure to prioritize honesty and open communication.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to build trust. That's what we need. It's a foundational piece that is necessary. And if you don't have it, you're going to have a crack in the concrete, right? And so in order to keep that from happening, practice being transparent and practice being honesty.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Peace.